Ho, 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 I'm hungry. We're talking 80s Christmas commercials. Hit it. It was the 1980s. MTV VJs ruled the airwaves. Teddy Ruxpin was the hottest Christmas toy, and the holiday commercials tugged at our heartstrings and drove us to the stores. I'm your host, Jerry D, with another episode of Totally Rad Christmas, the podcast that talks all things Christmas in the 80s. Toys, movies, specials, music, and fads. If it was gnarly during Christmas in the 80s, we got it covered. And joining me is a Totally Rad Christmas all-star. You'll know him as a host of the Halloween podcast and co-host of the It's a 90s Christmas podcast. It's Lyle Perez. Lyle, how's it going?
Doing good, Jerry. How are you?
You know, I'm great. Talking about Christmas commercials in the middle of the Christmas season, I can't get better than that.
It can't. Trust me. This doing the research for this one was something that I loved doing. It wasn't even research at all. It was just me watching commercials and remembering good memories.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So many of these that we're going to be talking about today, they hit me right in the feels, and they brought me back to when I was a kid and watching, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer or some other special. And then these would be right in the middle of them.
Yeah. Where did you watch these? Because for me, I remember watching a lot of TV at grandma's house.
So we watched we did watch TV at grandma's house, but usually whenever we were there, it was like for a holiday or something. And so all the cousins would be there. So we also played a lot. So I'd say I watched most of these at home, actually. Okay. Probably like the Scrooge one, especially that we'll talk about with the Cheerios. That one I remember from Saturday morning cartoons. But okay. A lot of these others, I recall, especially during holiday specials that aired usually weekdays. So I'd be at home watching most of these.
Perfect. Yeah, I remember most of the time my mom and dad were always working. So, of course, latchkey kid right here. Mm-hmm. So all I did was sit there and watch TV. And I remember watching sitcoms. That's what I always loved, watching nice. All this Family Matters, Full House, you name it. I was watching it. And I kid a lot with my wife because she doesn't understand how I was raised. And I told her I was raised with Danny Tanner. He was my dad. Alan Matthews from Boy Meets World. That was my dad. Carl Winslow. They were all my dads. So I grew up just like that. And she can see it, that a lot of my mannerisms and how I talk and how I joke around is all of those TV dads combined.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know what you mean. There was a time, I think I was around junior high, maybe early high school, where we, well, without getting into it, let me just say that my dad needed to get a second job for a bit. So, I mean, I know he was only getting like maybe 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night, and it was just seasonal, really. But I remember barely seeing him because he was always at work. So I'd see him early in the morning, and then I wouldn't see him again usually till late at night. Or occasionally, if it was a later shift, he'd show up like right after school, and then we wouldn't see him again till later.
Yeah.
So I understand watching these TV dads and kind of taking what lessons you could from them as well.
Yes, because that's who raised me. Like I'm not ashamed of it, because it turned me into who I am right now. So it's weird.
Right on. I dig it, man. I dig it. So all these commercials, I mean, it's hard to say like what do you remember? What's your experience? Because really there's so many different ones that aired at different times that it's hard to kind of just pinpoint it. But I do kind of want to say, speaking of commercials, I know you brought up the first commercial, the very first one that ever aired. And you kind of wanted to talk about that. I think it was Boulevard. Is that correct?
Yes. Boulevard time. That's all it said. That's what all the first commercial was just, I think all it said was, America runs on Boulevard time.
That's it. Yeah.
That's all it said. First commercial.
Short and sweet, that's all you need.
Yes. It was only 9 seconds long. 9 seconds long. And I think they aired it in during a game, the Dodgers versus the Phillies.
Okay.
They aired it in 1941, July
Wow.
1st. And yeah, that was basically the entire ad was just a screen of the United States map and a clock in front of it, and all it said was America runs on Boulevard time, and then that was it. It cost them between $4 to $9 to make.
Wow.
And yeah,
In 41.
Yeah, in 1941 was the very first commercial. So without that, I don't know if we would have had commercials.
Right.
Somebody had to have come up with like, hey, during I Love Lucy, let's go ahead and this was way before I Love Lucy. Somebody said, let's put an advertisement right in the middle of prime programming and see what happens. Sure enough, here we are 60 some odd years later, 80 years later. And two schmoes are talking about commercials.
Whoever did it was a genius, though, because I mean, think about how many like iconic moments and how much business has been done just from commercials. I mean, that's literally this guy. If he's not in any sort of Hall of Fame or whatever, he needs to be, because that, like, I would say he kind of changed the face of advertising. Because you see ads sure. in magazines, you see them in books and papers and stuff like that. But I mean, this is different to see it live action. And now they spend millions and millions of dollars creating these ads, especially you think of like the Super Bowl and how many millions it is for like just a little small 30-second spot. So
it kind of makes me wonder what they actually use all that money for. Cause they spend all of that money, but I guess it's prime time and, but how many people even really watch this stuff anymore? I don't remember. Like, I haven't watched the Super Bowl in years, so I don't.
I gotcha. Yeah, and that's really the only time I really watch football is on the Super Bowl. Like, I'll watch some of the playoffs, but or if I'm at my in-laws' house, most of the time I'm busy doing something else. Usually I'm at work, honestly. And I just it is what it is. You miss it because you have to. I'm also not a huge football fan, so there's that. But on the Super Bowl, I will watch the Super Bowl, and most of the time, if the game's pretty boring, we'll just fast forward and watch the commercials. So.
Yeah, fast forward. That's something we couldn't do back in the 80s.
No,
definitely couldn't do that.
It's so funny now. I would use my commercial breaks often to run to the restroom or get snacks or go to the other room to grab a toy or something. So you'd have to time it perfectly, and it was usually like an art almost, running over there, running
hurry,
back.
Jerry, it's coming back on. Come on.
That's right. Hurry, it's on.
Hold on. I have to hit play on my VCR. Hold on.
You got to hit play and record at the same time.
Yes.
So it's funny that nowadays we can just press a button and skip it or stream it, and there's not even any, pay a little extra and then just completely skip the ads altogether.
Yeah, I don't do that. I actually pay less just to have the ads on there. Of course, my wife doesn't like it, but I'm like, I love watching the ads, so it's
nice.
I have to do it.
That's cool. I'm mixed. Like it depends on what I'm watching, because there's some things where I really like I just get to the show. I want to get on with it, and then there are other things where it's like, it's okay if there's commercials here. I don't mind.
Yeah, well, now that we're older, we can't really waste time. That's one of the luxuries we don't have. As a kid, we can waste all the time we want watching commercials.
Very, very true.
Can't do it. Just can't.
Oh, man. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of it, the good stuff while we're here, I did want to bring up a couple of other commercials, two of the very longest running ones.
Nice.
And that you had mentioned before, and I thought that's a fantastic idea. Let's do it. So you mentioned the two longest running commercials. So these guys have been on the air for quite some time.
Yes. Since the 70s.
And one of them I don't remember at all, the discount tire one.
You don't remember that one?
I don't remember it at all. And I think it's because it was about tires. I kind of just zoned out, honestly.
It's an old lady that heaves a tire through a window, and you don't remember it.
You think I would? That sounds like something right up my alley, but no. I mean, I watched it a few times, and Yeah, she's like rolling the tire down,
Yeah.
in the parking lot, and then she just takes it and chucks it
Yeah.
in through their window.
If forever you're not satisfied by one of our tires, please feel free to bring it back. Thanks.
Something
Discount
tells
Tire
me
Company.
they didn't want you to actually throw it through their windows. But
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure they didn't, but they wanted to get their point across.
yeah.
There's on YouTube, you can see
Mhm.
the commercial, of course, and
Right.
the Discount Tire Company has their own YouTube channel, and
Nice.
there's like a button. I guess it says like learn more about this. I clicked on it, and all it does is just tell you exactly what it said in the YouTube description. It was the same exact thing on their website, and I was like, that didn't give me any more information at all.
Learn more in quotations.
Yes. And I was like, cool. I can learn more on their history page. I click on it and it just tells me the same exact stuff as
Speaking of that, while I was researching, because this was like, I think some of the hardest research I've ever done ever for anything.
It's tough.
And it's trying to find some of these things. I'd go to the website and it says history or about, and you'd click on that. And same thing, it's like a very, very broad outline that doesn't really tell you anything.
Right.
And so I go to other sites and try to get a more detailed bit, and a lot of them were just kind of copy and paste straight from the original website. So it's like, well, I guess I'll know, I'll say what I know, and that's about it. But if nothing else, we'll talk about how it made us feel for sure.
Of course. I know the feeling. Before I started doing the Halloween podcast and I started doing it's a 90s Christmas podcast, I had another podcast, my very first podcast, called Amazing Advertising, where I would talk about old advertising characters.
Nice.
From everything. I think I did an episode on the Empire Man, which is a commercial we're doing now.
Yeah.
Snap, Crackle, and Pop. Who else did I do? Fred the Baker from Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
I would dive deep into those things, like figure out who the actors were, talk about their careers, talk about how the advertising company that came up with the idea. I went in depth, so that history page doesn't really give you a lot of information.
No, it really doesn't at all.
But one thing that does is whenever there's any legal trouble involved, you can definitely find the legal documents online. That's all public record. You can find them, and there's information there that you can use for those things. So that's always good.
So watch out, kids, because if you ever mess up, it's going to be public knowledge.
It will be. Trust me. Don't look my name up, people.
Uh-oh. But the other commercial, the other one of the longest running commercials was the Tootsie Pop commercial. Now this one, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The Discount Tire Company, that one was filmed in 75 and it started airing in 76, and it's been the same exact commercial since then.
Oh, wow.
The Guinness Book of World Records has it as the longest continuously running commercial that has run continuously all the way since now. I think it actually is still running somewhere. I think mostly in like local markets, not really national.
Oh, okay.
Around.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, local kind of makes sense. I mean, although Discount Tire's been pretty much around everywhere, but I mean, same for some reason. Yeah, I don't recall that the old lady throwing it through the window. But
I remember it mostly during, I think it was like Price is Right. I think it was like during like the Price is Right is when they would show that as a kid.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Oh, now I feel like watching Price is Right with Bob Barker. Oh man.
Oh man, man, don't even get me started on that. I got
sorry, I didn't mean to poke the bear there.
What Buzzer, that Buzzer network show on Roku. Like,
oh, I
would sit there and watch those stupid shows. And my daughter, she loves classic concentration. We'll sit there and we'll watch it, and we're sitting there like trying to figure out the puzzles, and
nice.
we're yelling at the contestants, telling them to pick this, pick that. Yeah, it's game shows. I love them.
Yeah, and it's funny you said. I actually had, so in 6th grade, they had like a contest or something, and you would do, I don't even remember what it was, but eventually you'd get points for whatever it was that you would do. And so I had enough points that I could get a Nintendo game. And of course, because it was at school, it's not like it was, they were great games, but one of them was Classic Concentration. So I got that game on Nintendo. Nice. And man, I was I love that game. That was a fun game. It's like surprisingly fun on Nintendo. You wouldn't think you
Yeah,
wouldn't think it would be so fun on Nintendo, but it really was.
I'm sure it was.
But anyway,
Well, the rest of us are playing Contra. You're over there playing Classic Concentration.
well, by that time, I mean it was 91, so Contra was already
Oh yeah,
not so much. But oh man, don't get me wrong, I loved Contra. But I
oh
mean,
yeah.
it's not like they had great games. They had to be educational-ish. So
That's true. That's true.
it was at a school. But
Yeah.
the second longest running commercial, or one of the others, I should say, was the Tootsie Pop commercial.
Mm-hmm.
Now this one, I remember watching all the time. This one was like every cartoon, Saturday morning almost seemed like it had that one,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Owl.
Yeah. Have you seen the first commercial, the really long one? So
No,
it's
I
like a
haven't seen
minute
the
long.
full thing. No.
The full thing. Okay. Well, first he goes up to a cow and he's all like, "Mr. Cow, how many licks does it take?" And the cow's like, "I don't know. I always bite." And then go ask the fox. And then the fox is like some sleazy looking fox. And the fox is all like, "I don't know. I always bite it. Why don't you go ask the turtle?" And the turtle's all like, "I don't know. Go ask the owl. He's the smartest. I always bite." And even though I always thought this was funny that the turtle doesn't have any teeth, it's just like, how are you biting? Okay. And
It's a snapping turtle.
I guess I don't know, but he's all old. I love the way the turtle sounds. It
Yeah.
just sounds great. And then the owl, of course, the owl just says, "Okay," bites it and gives it back.
1, 2, 3. It's classic.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's one that I just remember always being on. And
Yeah.
like to this day, so my wife actually, she has a T-shirt with the, the how many likes, and it's got the little boy and the owl. I mean,
Nice.
it's
So do I. I have it. I probably have that
yeah,
same T-shirt.
nice. That's
I think
awesome. Yeah,
my
it's so
my
good.
wife got it for me.
Okay, right. I
But
actually I got it for my wife. So
nice.
great minds, very
Yes.
cool.
But do you know how many licks it really takes to get to the Tootsie Roll Center with Tootsie Pop?
Well, according to the owl, it's 3, but I don't know what. No, I
Well,
haven't Googled.
the world does know, and it is on average 364 licks
Okay,
to get to the center.
so if you lick it once a day, then in a year you'll be able
In a year.
to get to the center, assuming
Yes.
it hasn't rotted
Hasn't
away.
molded
Yeah.
That's crazy. But yeah, one thing that I saw that commercial probably like a couple minutes ago before we started,
Mhm.
and I haven't watched it the entire thing.
Right.
So when I clicked on it and I was watching it, and when he gets to the owl, I saw the owl like I don't know why this made me laugh, but the owl was like sitting there, his eyes were closed, and then he slowly opens up. I don't know, probably because it's almost 9:30 and I'm tired, and I was just watching that. The eyes opening slowly just made me laugh so bad. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Just watch it. Next time you watch that commercial, just watch the owl.
No, I'm gonna watch
when-
his
when he
eyes.
first
Yeah.
comes in, and then the little boy's talking, and the owl slowly opens its eyes.
It sounds like me in the morning when it's like 5 a.m. and my kid
Yeah.
gets out of bed.
Don't get me started on kids waking you up in the middle of the night, because my daughter collects these. She likes to. You've seen that the Dawn of the Dead remake from the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a point where there's like a little girl and she's like standing. She slowly opens the door and she's like standing there all creepily. My daughter does that all the time, and it scares crap out of me. All the time she does it, and I'm like, Alexi, stop doing that.
Well, that reminds me of my mom had this doll. It was about, I don't know, maybe about 3 feet high. It was like a doll that she had from the 50s when she was a little girl.
Yeah.
And it's like this creepy looking doll. It's not in good condition. It's kind of evil looking, I guess. And
Okay.
even though it's a nice, sweet little doll, or was, I guess, originally. Well, my dad one time, he took when my brother was asleep, he opened the door with the doll and he was on the floor. He just started walking the doll towards my brother's in bed. And my brother woke up and just started freaking out.
Oh man.
It was terrible, but it was pretty hilarious too. So,
Oh my gosh.
poor guy.
Man, these kids, man.
Yeah, they don't know. They don't know.
No.
But I guess let's get into the good stuff here.
Yes.
So the very first commercial I want to talk about is actually from 1988, or at least that's when it's attributed to have been released, about Captain Crunch. It was the Christmas Crunch with Crunchberries.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Quaker Oats Company, by the way, has said that the Captain Crunch, the Christmas Crunch, is actually accounts for about 18%, 13 to 8% of their total annual sales.
I can believe it.
I can too. I mean, that stuff is good. I mean, it's just sugar. You know, who doesn't love sugar? And
who doesn't love Christmas?
who doesn't love Christmas? Exactly. So it's like a win-win right there.
Mm-hmm.
This is one that's kind of strange because I couldn't find exactly who voiced him. So Dawes Butler voiced Captain Crunch for like a lot of the early history. Now it says the longest running voice of Captain Crunch was actually George J. Adams, but I couldn't find any information on when he actually took over voicing Captain Crunch in the ads.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like to me it sounds like it's Dawes Butler, but I can't be positive on that.
Yes, to me it also sounds like Dawes Butler.
Right. So this is that Captain Crunch, and we'll talk about it after this break.
'Twas a bit before Christmas, and all through the house, nothing was stirring, not even I ran to the kitchen. What could it be? Christmas Crunch from the cabin to me.
This crunch is special to make breakfast merry. It's loaded with yummy red and green crunch berries.
Very sweet. Delicious.
But it's only here till Christmas. Christmas Crunch is a very merry part of this balanced breakfast.
Great.
You can get one of 4 jolly ornaments.
Sasagi.
Get banana sleigh or ski.
There's one in each specially marked box of Christmas Crunch.
Gosh, those ornaments.
I had one of those ornaments.
I've gone to eBay numerous times trying to find those things. Have not been able to find it.
So this one, it's pretty much just a riff on A Night Before Christmas, which I kind of like. Some kids sneak downstairs and they catch Captain Crunch.
Who is Santa, apparently.
I guess so, yeah. That's, he kind of, I guess, I kind of see it. He's got the stash, the white mustache, not quite beard, but, and it's definitely a wrong color scheme, but I guess you can mistake him for Santa.
I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm reaching there. I'm reaching. But yeah, so it came with, those little ornaments. And so I actually, I had several of those ornaments as well. And they were cool. Like, I think my parents still have the, what's his name? The robot, the bad guy from Captain Crunch that they introduced in the 80s.
Oh man, I don't even remember that.
I know. I can't remember his name now. I had it. It was right here. And now I can't remember it, but I had him as that ornament for sure. And I think we had like 2 or 3 of the other ones. So I mean, it just brings back so many memories as far as this particular commercial, mostly of eating Captain Crunch cereal, getting your palate all scraped up, the roof of your mouth.
I know the feeling because I had some last night.
Nice.
And yeah, it hurts. Trust me. But it hurts so good. It's so good.
It really does. So it's not John the Foot. It was let's see, not the Soggy, Squish the Sogmaster. That was his name.
That's an awesome name.
Sogmaster.
Sogmaster.
Well, if your cereal is going to be crunchy, you got to have a villain that's going to try to decrunchify. I don't know what the word is.
It is the Noid of cereals.
That's right. That's right.
The Noid of cereals. Oh boy. So yeah, Dawes Butler. Do you know what other cereal mascot he did?
What other cereal mascot? No, I don't. What other cereal mascot did he do?
He was also Snap from Snap, Crackle, and Pop.
Oh, nice.
Snap. Of course, we know Dawes Butler. He did a lot of stuff with Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah.
He was Yogi Bear.
Yogi Bear. That's what I knew him from. Mm-hmm.
He was also, I should have brought this up, but he was also Fred Flintstone.
Oh, was he?
He was sometimes Fred Flintstone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I thought it was Henry Corden that was Fred Flintstone.
No, he was Fred. When was he Fred Flintstone? Let me look it up because I'm almost positive this is stuff from my Amazing Advertising days, which was, I haven't released an episode of that.
Oh yeah, he was yeah.
Gosh, I can't even see. He's been in so much stuff. He was Chili Willy. I remember him.
Chili Willy.
My name is Chili Willy.
So yeah, you're right. He was Fred Flintstone for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool. I didn't remember that. I always knew of Henry Corden.
Yeah.
But speaking of Flintstones, and let's talk about Fruity Pebbles.
Yes, perfect segue.
That is a perfect segue. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So this one is another one that it was one of those where it really felt like Christmas as soon as you'd start to watch it.
Yummy Fruity Pebbles in our bowls. Oh, here comes you-know-who. Yabba dabba fruit, delicious do. Ho, 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 I'm hungry. Santa, my pebbles. Your pebbles. 'Tis the season to be sharing, Fred. Happy holidays, pal. Oh, Fred. Fruity and Cocoa Pebbles cereals, part of this nutritious breakfast. Ho, 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 ho.
Santa,
My Pebbles.
I love that commercial.
I do too. It gives me all of the Christmas feels right there, as they say. I love how they begin caroling. Dino's part of the choir as well.
Yeah.
Because I mean, what is he? He would just kind of yap, right? Yap, 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 yap. I mean,
Yeah,
so,
and here he is singing.
and he's singing, yeah, with the whole choir. This is another one that I always remember the melody, you know. Oh, here comes you know who. I mean,
Yeah.
so this commercial debuted in 1986, or at least that's the earliest that I could find of it. I don't know, there's possibly earlier, but my understanding is 1986. This is one that I could barely find anything. I don't know what ad agency did it. All that I could find really, and this comes from behindthevoiceactors.com, was the actors that played it. And so it was Henry Corden as Fred, Mel Blanc, of course, as Barney, which I thought was really cool that they reprised their roles, you know, that they weren't too big to do commercials. I thought that was pretty rad of them. And then now I don't know who the original Santa is, but Jim Cummings later on was re-recorded Santa's version.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I remember the older version, and then I remember they remade it, I think in the late or the early 90s when they did the other one.
Yeah.
It just didn't have the same ring to it. I like
no, so his voice was completely different. So this one, I don't know, it just sounded more stoic, I guess.
I guess. I don't know.
Well, it's just like you'd hear the other one, and I mean, pretty much all I could hear was like Darkwing Duck, you know, or well, maybe a little bit of Tigger in there as well. I think you know, you hear Jim Cummings Tigger later on, and I mean it's kind of that same that same vibe to it. I remember when they changed it and thinking like, what happened to his voice? That's not the right voice.
It's not. Yeah, I remember that because I remember, like, I remember this is the commercial I remember the most. But
me too.
I went years, like I'm talking like 20 some odd years, like completely forgetting about this commercial. I haven't seen it since I was a kid. And when I was doing the Amazing Advertising podcast, I was looking at all these old commercials with the advertising characters.
Right.
And I did a couple of episodes with Christmas commercials. And as I was doing those, this one like just showed up in like some like that rotation.
Right.
And I was like, the second I heard it, I was like, oh my goodness, I remember that commercial.
Yeah, this is another one that I remember being played a lot during Saturday morning cartoons.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember it taught me a lot about sharing.
Yeah, exactly. 'Tis the season to be sharing, Fred, you know. So,
yeah, this commercial still to this day, it gets to me like every time. I remember because we all know Barney would always try to steal the Fruity Pebbles, and
right.
Fred would be like, "No, those are mine. Give me those." So it was really nice to actually be like he was mad, and Santa reminds him,
Santa
like,
kind of reproves him. Yeah,
you gotta, you know, he's your friend. And he's like, "Oh, you're right. Happy holidays." And it gets me just as much as did you ever see the Pinky and the Brain Christmas special they did?
No, the Pinky and the Brain was just slightly after my time. So I mean, I was already in that. Oh, I'm too cool for this,
Well,
So
now that you're not too cool, you need to go back in.
Okay.
And watch that one.
Well,
And if it-
let me set the record straight though, real quick. I was never cool. It just it's I thought I was. Yeah.
you need to watch that special.
Okay.
Or, I don't think it is a special. I think it's just regular
Like an
programming,
episode
but
from it. Yeah, I gotcha.
yes, watch it with the Noodle Noggin doll. And if it does not make you cry at the end, you're not human. You're definitely not human.
Okay.
Like literally to this day, I would watch that episode with my kids and I would be sobbing and my kids are looking at me going like, "Why are you crying, Dad?" Because it's so sweet. How could you guys be so heartless? Raise you kids.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
All right. I'll check it out for sure.
Check it out. And I mean, I don't know if we can do it for your show. We were supposed to do it on the 90s Christmas podcast, but it kind of got hard for me to record and last I got busy. So we were like, well, we'll figure it out in time. So, but
Yeah.
hopefully next year we'll be back. Hopefully.
Was it around 93? Maybe?
It was around, I think it was like more like 96, 95.
Okay. Well, I mean, we'll figure out maybe a bonus episode or two.
But if not, when me and Lassa do it for the podcast, we'll bring you on for it.
I'm down with that. All right. So moving right along here, I want to talk about Peter Comes Home from Folgers. This is another classic one that I remember.
Yes.
But because it was about coffee, I don't recall it being aired too much during the cartoons on Saturday morning. Although I guess you would think it might be, but most of that time is they're trying to sell kids on toys and different things like that. So
yeah,
I guess it makes sense. But I remember this is another one that I remember being played all the time, and so much so it's such a classic that they actually made a sequel later on.
Don't get me started on that one.
Yeah, that one. There's a what. I don't want to say it,
the
but
original.
it's creepy. Yeah, Peter and his sister. There's a vibe there that I don't really like so much. It's a little Lannisterish for me.
Yeah, let's play the old one. Go
I
ahead.
agree. Let's do that. So here we go.
Thanks a lot. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Everyone's asleep.
I know how to wake them up. Come on.
Oh, you're home.
I missed you, Mom.
How you doing,
Best wishes for this and all your mornings from Folgers.
So yeah, this one is great. So Peter comes home. It's Christmas morning, and he exits the cab. He goes inside. I guess his little sister? Question mark. I'm gonna assume it's his sister. She sees him or she hears the door. She runs downstairs, and so hugs all that stuff. And then they make coffee, and it's the coffee aroma that wakes everybody else up, which, by the way, seeing it this last for this, I didn't remember that Peter also had an older sister, or I guess maybe one in between, the youngest and him.
Yeah.
Now, it's never specified where Peter was, if he was at college or at work or whatever. I know in the new one, I think it's he's away at like the Peace Corps or something like that.
Yeah, I always assumed he was away in college.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. But it's never actually specified.
Where else would he be?
I don't know.
Did he go to war? What war was going on? Did he go to the Cold War? I don't know.
He's actually a hitman secretly.
Cruising around in a bug.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. but everybody wakes up, and then his mom sees him, and Peter, and and then Folgers wishes you a happy holidays and a Merry Christmas and all that. So this one actually ran from 1985 all the way through 1988 unedited. And then in 2004 and 2005, they kind of trimmed it a bit and redid some music. And they played that edited version for a couple of years. This was done by the Cunningham and Walsh agency. And Peter was played by Greg Wranglers, which I couldn't find anything else on Greg Wranglers.
Yeah, I remember this commercial I did this one for Amazing Advertising, so I was able to find some information.
Oh, awesome.
But
you're the best guest for this, because apparently my Google Foo skills are not so great.
Well, I don't know how good, because I didn't write them down for the notes and I don't remember them. But it is in that episode. Whatever I was able to find out is in that episode.
Go listen to that episode, folks.
Yes, I think it was Christmas commercials, some longest running Christmas commercials one that I did. But what I do remember is, gosh, well, I guess I don't remember anything. All I remember is the jingle for Folgers came out in 1984.
Oh, okay.
By Leslie Pearl.
Nice. That's the best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I would say that's probably one of the best jingles that's out there.
I agree. Now we're going to be talking about one later that is also very, very memorable. I can't wait to get to that, because I'm excited about that one. That's a good jingle.
Yes, but one thing I have like this. I did another episode on Folgers because they had another advertising character, Mrs. Olson. Do you remember her?
I think I do, actually.
Mrs. Olson. She was always. She always had like coffee in her purse whenever like the wife would make coffee, and the husband would be like, "This is freaking terrible coffee," and then
as husbands do, apparently.
Of course, that's what we all do. Come on, woman, make me some coffee.
That's terrible.
And then
terrible.
So they go and complain to Miss Olson, and Miss Olson's all like, "Well, you need this Folgers. It's mountain grown." And so using the mountain grown, and then all of a sudden the husband's like, "Wow, this is great coffee." Like, who in their right mind would have thought that was good advertising? I don't get it.
It was a different time, man.
Have you seen old Folgers commercials? Like from like the 60s and
no,
70s?
I haven't gone that far back with Folgers. No.
You should watch them, because they're fun to watch, to say the least. Well, they're not fun, but they're pretty out there. Trust me.
Oh my goodness, I can only imagine. That's just crazy to me, honestly. That someone would be like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Yes. But I mean, stuff like that still happens. Like, let's look at this stupid remake that they made for this commercial. Like, who in their right mind would do that? Like,
yeah. There's definitely. I mean, I don't know which one was into which, or if they were both into each other, but there's definitely some chemistry there that should not be there.
Yeah, I mean, I could understand if the sister was much younger, but the sister looked like she was not that much younger,
like a year or two, maybe. Yeah.
So when they were like, "Oh, you're my present this year," I was like, "Oh my god."
Some Game of Thrones vibes.
Yeah, and then like, of course, the internet being the internet, you can watch videos of like people splicing stuff in.
Oh yeah,
that commercial. It's not family friendly, I'll tell you that. But it's
no, definitely not.
Like, I don't know. I always had this idea of like, if you were going to remake it, you should have gotten Greg Wrangler to come back as the dad this time.
Yeah, that would have been perfect.
Make it known that he was the original. Like, the grandparents were there, and be like, "Oh, remember the time when you came home from college?"
Yeah,
and that would have been better. But whoever at Folgers decided that was the way to go. I hope they got fired.
Well, I don't want anyone to lose their livelihood, so maybe not fired, but maybe like reprimanded heavily.
Well, maybe just like demoted to not in advertising.
There you go. Yeah.
You can like be janitor or something. Not that being a janitor is bad or anything. I've cleaned many toilets before for money, so
yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but this the commercial is it really is like a warm blanket to me. It's just one
Yes.
that I as soon as I see it, it reminds me, and I don't know if it's just because at my grandma would drink Folgers, but like every time I see it, like I just have that Folgers aroma. It had its own little smell because it was almost like, since it was in that tin,
Mhm.
that can, that aluminum can or whatever,
Yeah.
it almost had like a metallic hint to me every time.
Okay.
As well. So it was like coffee plus a little bit of that metallic uh, aroma. But
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
yeah. My mom, I told this story on the podcast for Amazing Advertising, but my mom, she never really drank like Folgers, like put it in a coffee pot and do it. She always got the Folgers crystals. So
right.
to me, when as growing up, that was coffee. Like when I got into the actual workforce, and I
Yeah,
never drank coffee until I was in like until my early 20s, probably, when I first
right.
drank coffee. And I remember this vividly. I was in the office. I used to work for a company called Berg Electric, and I was in the community room, whatever it was called, the break room, and I was gonna make coffee, and I saw the coffee there, and I saw the pot, and to me, looking at the pot, I always thought like, oh, this is just for people that are too lazy to make their own coffee. So I got my cup. I remember I came to work. I had a brand new cup. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get some coffee. I'm a cool guy today. And I started scooping the coffee in, and then I put hot water in it, and I was mixing it around like my mom did. And I
Yeah.
was like, perfect. Here's my coffee. I go back to sit down, and I take a drink, and I'm like, man, this thing is freaking terrible. There's all of these grains in it. How can anybody drink this stuff? So I go and I'm dumping it out. I'm cleaning my cup, and like one of the HR ladies stumbles in, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, just cleaning this cup. I had some coffee. It wasn't good." And I told her what I did, and
Yeah.
she looked at me like, "What are you, an idiot? Use the machine. This is how you do it." She like loaded it for me. Oh man.
Oh no.
And I had my cup of coffee, and I was like, man, this stuff's terrible. And I threw it away. And then sure enough, months later, I'm like, give me my coffee.
It's funny because I've never really been a big coffee guy, and even now, I'll drink it every once in a while. I'm more of a tea guy myself.
Gotcha.
But
Well, for me, coffee feels like a kind of like it brings me back to like simpler times. I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like whenever I drink coffee, I think about stuff like Mrs. Olson and this commercial, this Christmas commercial with Peter. Like it just makes me think of those things. So every time I have coffee, or whenever my my aunts and uncles used to come over to the house, like every night really, and my mom would put on coffee, or she would make her Folgers crystals, and she would make everybody a cup, and everyone would be drinking coffee at like 8 o'clock at night and like talking. Like that's every time I drink coffee, that's just what I think about, and that's what I do. So that's why I love coffee for it.
Right on. I dig that. I like that. Well, see, and for me, I drink tea mostly because of and honestly, it's mostly just because of my great grandma who would make sweet tea. And so even hot tea, even though I drink it more for my voice, even then I still just reminds me of my great grandma. So I know exactly what you mean.
Nice.
And same thing with this ad, like it reminds me of Christmas, even though like Christmas is kind of just like, it's not a huge part, it's more about the family coming together and the coffee, I guess. But he's coming home because it's Christmas. So I get the Christmas feels every time I watch it. It hits me, it makes me feel like, oh, okay, the season is here as soon as I hear it.
Yeah, that's another reason why I always have cinnamon in my coffees, because it makes me think of Christmas.
Nice.
So every time I have a cup of coffee, there's always cinnamon in it. Always.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how much Christmas nerds we are.
You sweeten it with the cinnamon?
Yes.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, it is good. I like it.
Cool. That's all that matters, right?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, we're going on tangents. Let's go to the next commercial.
Yeah, that's what exactly. I was just about to bring it back. Yeah. So the next one, and this is one that you wanted to really talk about, and it was the Campbell Soup Snowman commercial. So all I could find was that it was done by BBDO in New York, their New York branch, although they're worldwide, and that it aired originally in 1993, but I couldn't figure out like anything on who this little boy actor was or who did the graphics or anything like that. All I know is it was just BBDO that did it. So
Yeah.
but here let's listen to this really quickly here.
As long as you love me so, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
Nothing melts away the cold like a delicious hot bowl of Campbell's chicken noodle soup.
Let it snow, let it snow.
Campbell's makes everything.
Better. It's so good. Yeah, that commercial is I mean, another classic. They've redone it a few times, and same thing, they've updated the music, and of course then they even had like, again, quasi sequels to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I really I mean, looking at the snowman, every time I saw him, it's like the quintessential snowman, you know, like whenever you'd I mean, I'm from South Texas, so we didn't have snow, but like whenever you think about someone building a snowman, that's what you always thought of, you know, with the carrot and the big old, you know, eyes and just kind of the dots for the mouth smiling, and the sticks for the arms. And so, I mean, to me, I'd see the commercial, and even though I couldn't relate because we didn't have anything like that, at the same time, I like immediately knew, oh, okay, it's cold outside, it's winter. Yeah, you know, whenever you're sick or whenever you just want to feel better and it's cold, you drink the soup or you eat
Get all nice and toasty.
Exactly. So another brilliant spot. I thought that was really clever advertising. Although as I was researching this, I did see one comment, and someone said something about like what parent would let their kid out, you know, play outside in the cold so long that they turn into a snowman. And all I wanted to say was, hey, it was the 80s.
It was. I mean, if this kid grew up like me, I was outside. Like, I had no parental units anywhere. So I was outside all the time, and I probably would have frozen to death out there if I didn't have more common sense to come inside.
Yeah, exactly. And the kid apparently does, because he's cold. He's so cold that he's a snowman.
Yeah, and apparently he makes his own soup too, which, I mean, when I was a kid, I made my own soup. My kids now, they have no idea how to open up a can and put it in a saucepan.
Yeah, mine don't either. I need to start training them better.
Yes. But there's nothing been confirmed, but I mean, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think that little boy died.
Oh, well,
in the commercial.
Oh, that's a bummer. Well, that could be maybe why we hadn't heard too much about him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he would probably be like that little boy in the Nirvana. And then Nirvana album. He's gonna sue Campbell's.
You know, it's it's funny because I've always said, like, if I was in something like this iconic, I'd totally like just tell it all the time and be like, hey, you know, when I meet someone new, like, hey, I'm Jerry. Oh, by the way, I was in the Campbell soup commercial, you know.
Yeah, no, I fully understand that, because I wish, like, these people that did something in their younger days, like, they don't feel like, don't get mad when somebody brings it up. That's what made you who you are. Right. Like, one thing I remember is I was listening to this interview with Pauly Shore, and Pauly Shore, he never gets mad. Apparently, I mean, this is what he says in the interview, that he never gets mad when somebody comes up to him and, you know, asks him to do the weasel, and he's like, that's what made me who I am. Like, yeah, I'm not going to get mad for somebody wanting me to do the weasel when that's what made me who I am. That made me famous. So of course I'm going to do it. And another thing that I really liked was, were you a Rocky fan? Like the Rocky movie?
Oh yes. Yeah.
In Rocky Balboa, when he's like, he has his restaurant and he's like telling all of these old war stories about with him being a boxer. Like, I love that. Like, yes, talk about the stuff that you used to do. Like, don't try to hide from it. Like, just embrace it.
Yes, 1,000,000%. Yeah. And so I don't understand that. And I actually think it's kind of sad that they didn't keep like a lot more, I don't know, maybe just a lot better records of some of this stuff. Because I think that'd be, I mean, obviously, as we're talking about it now, so there's obviously interest, like, just put it out there.
Yeah, but like, who knew really? Who knew
Yeah,
that
that's true.
this type of stuff would have been so like it would have stuck with us for such a long time?
Right. Well, it wasn't Lynn Haldren, that's for sure.
Oh, Lynn Haldren.
And that's my seg to the next commercial here, which is for Empire Carpets.
Empire Carpets, man. I love Empire Carpet. Empire Today is what it's called now.
Right.
But I mean, the Empire Carpet, man, that brings me back really to like grandma's house.
Yes. Yeah, and it was always like on during like Murder She Wrote or Matlock or something.
Yes.
But so essentially it was kind of the brainchild advertising wise of Lynn Haldren, who from Lynn Haldren Creative there. He kind of came up with this concept, and when the owner and CEO of Empire couldn't find anyone that he liked to actually play and portray the Empire Man, who was going to be the spokesperson, he asked Lynn to do it, who, by the way, also wrote the jingle, which is the one of the catchiest jingles I've ever heard.
Yes, and it's just a phone number. You'll never forget the phone number.
Exactly. That's all it is. But for some reason, it's just, oh man, it's everything about it is so catchy. Let's see. But don't take my word for it. Let's listen.
Wouldn't you like to have a nice new carpet under your tree this year? There's plenty of time if you call Empire. You'll have it in 72 hours, and with our credit plan, there's no installment payment till way after the holidays. Hard to believe, but our prices still start at only $6.95 installed, and that includes polyfoam padding. Plus a gift with any order, a telephone or shampoo are free. So have a nice new carpet under your tree in time for the holidays. Call us.
588-2300 Empire.
All right, so I love the Empire Man. I love the Empire Man so much. When I was doing the podcast, he was my first episode. Was Lynn Haldren.
Nice.
I learned so much about that guy, and man, he was really a genius when it came to marketing. Even though he only did one thing specifically that he's really known for, which is the Empire Man. But yeah, he did that. He did the jingle, and the Empire Man was around since like the 70s. Like it was like a long time the Empire Man was doing commercials, and I think he stopped in like the early 2000s is when the Empire Man started getting phased out as a human character,
right?
And then here came the cartoon character and the animated character,
right?
But he ended up passing away in 2011,
right?
So we lost somebody special, even though he wasn't doing much towards the end of his life, but still, he was a genius.
Talking about that jingle, it's so simple, 588-2300 Empire today. But it's so catchy. It's so catchy that you will never forget that number. It's like 867-5309. You got to know it. You
have to know it. There's a lot of them. Like, have you ever seen that J.G. Wentworth?
Oh
commercial?
Yeah. Yes, that's another really catchy.
877
cash now.
Like, man, this is powerful stuff. Like, it really makes me mad when people say, like, people don't want jingles anymore. They're tired of them. I'm not tired of jingles. Give me all of the best jingles you got.
I agree.
Just give them to me. Double my pleasure, double my fun. That's a statement of a great mint right there. Double mint gum. I mean, come on, Mentos, the fresh maker.
Right. Or, break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar. I mean, there's
give
so
me that
many.
break, people. No, actually, don't give me that break. Give me more jingles. Because, I'm a Toys R Us jingle kid.
Oh, yes. That's another one. Now, this particular commercial that we just saw that we just heard was from 1984. I don't remember this commercial specifically, but as soon as you said Empire, it's like, oh yeah, that takes me back to to again being at like my grandma's house watching one of her shows. And just hearing it all the time.
Yeah, like I don't have specific memories about that commercial either. I mostly remember it because when I was doing the podcast, I was looking up Christmas commercials of all of these advertising characters, and I stumbled upon that one. But like, it's so weird how we can be doing just anything. Like we can be cleaning up after the kids or something. We can be doing something in our day-to-day life, and all of a sudden we get triggered by something in our heads, and it just clicks, and we're like, oh wow, that just made me think of something. That's what I felt like when I was doing the Amazing Advertising podcast. Is I would just be doing, because the way I had that podcast, kind of like the schedule of it was, I would come up with a story about one of the advertising characters and something from like my childhood. And a lot of them came to me as I was just doing regular day-to-day stuff. And then I would think about it and I'd be like, oh yeah, I remember when that happened to me. And I jotted it all down, and then that became the basis.
Nice.
But yeah, Empire Man, love it.
Well, next I want to talk about a couple of McDonald's commercials. Now, these ones really put me in the Christmas spirit. The first one I want to talk about is, and I couldn't find a lot of info. Well, I couldn't find any, I'll be honest, information on this particular one. So this is the McNuggets commercial. So.
Hope we're going to a New Year's Eve party.
I'd prefer an office party.
I want to go to a school Christmas party.
McDonald's Chicken McNuggets 20-pack, the life of any holiday party.
How do I look?
Delicious.
Golden brown is your color.
Whoopee! Let's go to a sleigh ride party.
It's a good time for the great taste.
Parties. That's all you 20-packs ever think of.
Of McDonald's.
Time for McDonald's gift certificates. 50 cents each, or a book of 10 for $5.
Wow. What were these people on when they came up with these commercials?
I don't know, but I love that commercial. I remembered that commercial, and I really wanted to talk about it. I could find nothing on it, and so it was kind of a bummer. I remember the little gift certificates.
Yeah,
I remember the cranky old nuggets as well. But really, those little talking McNuggets were like one of my favorite things at McDonald's. I believe that commercial aired or debuted, I should say, in 1984.
Okay.
That's really about all that I could find on it. So I have no idea who the voices were. That's it. So I just kind of wanted to mention that. But what do you remember about that one?
Well, I don't remember anything about that commercial specifically. I mean, I was -1 when that one came out. So I don't remember anything.
Gotcha.
But one thing that like stuck with me is when you sent that to me, I watched it and I was all like, oh, okay, 84 and McNuggets. And then I thought in my head, like, there was a time when I was in high school and I just discovered that McDonald's had McNuggets.
What?
I was in high school when I first discovered they had McNuggets. I'm not lying. Because when I was a kid, I didn't get McNuggets. I didn't get anything like that. I would just get the Happy Meal with the burger, the fries, the drink. That was it. So that's all I got when I was a kid. And then as time went on and I started to have to pay for this stuff myself, I didn't have no money. So I didn't go to McDonald's.
Right.
But then as time went on, I do remember this vividly. Like I had a friend, his name was Armando in high school, and he bought me a box of McNuggets, and I ate them going, holy crap, man. That's really good. This must be like a new thing here at McDonald's. These are good. I remember thinking that. And then I was like, oh, wow. Yeah. Stupid high schooler me.
We all make mistakes in high school. But that was back before they used like, good, well, quote unquote, good chicken for
Yeah, but I don't know. Whatever I had then in high school, I think I was in 9th grade when I first discovered them. Yeah, I would. No, actually, it was the same year that Finding Nemo came out, because I remember we went to the McDonald's that was down the street from my high school, and I went with one of my cousins, and they had the Finding Nemo toys there. And then she looked at me and she's like, "What is all of this stuff about Nemo? What is Finding Nemo?" I remember that so vividly.
So, but following along on that tangent, there was another commercial called Scrooge's Christmas Party that, again, that one and the previous commercial kind of taught me that it's okay to have nuggets on, at a fancy party.
I wonder if you try to cash one of those, what they would do
nowadays.
if you find one on eBay and it's like write in $100 and go take it in, I wonder if they would honor it. I don't think they would.
I doubt it.
There's a guy on Facebook. I don't know if he's on YouTube, but like he does a bunch of those stupid pranks. Like that could be something he could probably do. Would be like to grab like an old gift certificate and try to go cash it in.
I'd love to see that actually. I doubt that they'd actually accept that, but it's funny because they seem to really be pushing those gift certificates, and I don't remember ever getting any, but it seems like something I would really want now. You know, my brother-in-law asks me like what I want for Christmas, and it's like, nothing special, just like a Whataburger gift card or Chick-fil-A or anything, just any kind of gift card to some place that I can just eat something during lunchtime.
I fully understand you. Get me something I can use.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I want to touch on two McDonald's commercials. One of them, there's a lot of information on. One, not so much. So the first one is, and I know McDonald's has quite a bit of them here. The first one was from 87 and 88. It was called Star Wish. Now this one, there's a longer version, there's a shorter version, and we'll play this one here. Now the Birdie, this is after the lawsuit that you mentioned earlier. So they got rid of a bunch of characters. Pretty much they had Birdie, Grimace, and I think Hamburglar, and that was about it. But like the mayor, the officer, all the Fry Guys, all
Big
those.
Mac, yeah. Fry Guys kind of stuck around for a little bit longer after that, but they slowly were
faded out. Yeah. And so, or phased out, I should say.
Yeah.
And this is one, where with just Grimace and Birdie. And by the way, Grimace is a taste bud, and I didn't remember that when I was little. But this one is called Star Wish. This is where they actually find a fallen star and then try to give it to Ronald. And so it's a little bit longer here.
One cold winter's eve, Bertie and Grimace wandered McDonald land in search of
a gift for Ronald.
Got any bright ideas?
When lo and behold, a little star hopped from the heavens and twinkled down to earth.
Look, Grimace, a falling star.
Ooh, maybe we can catch it.
And so they did.
You'll make the perfect gift for Ronald.
The little star was wrapped and ribboned and given, but
oh dear me,
twinkle it didn't.
You see, Birdie and Grimace, a star can never belong just to me. It belongs way up high for everyone to see. So let's wish him home where it'll twinkle and glow.
And so they did as they stood in the snow.
Look, the star's back at home in the sky, good as new. And I have the best gift of all, friends like you.
Happy holidays from McDonald's.
Good commercials back then, man.
So yeah, Birdie was voiced by Rusty Taylor, most famously known as the voice of Minnie Mouse. Grimace, I'm not entirely sure. He was normally voiced by Frank Welker, and I kind of get those vibes from him. But he was also voiced by Lenny Weinrib and Larry Moran at different times around this period. So I'm not quite sure. It could be them, but I think it's probably. I think to me it sounds like Frank Welker. So I'm going to say it's him, even though I'm not entirely sure that it's him. I just wanted to bring that up really quickly, because there was another McDonald's commercial with a lot of information on, and it was called Ice Skating. Now, this one was from 82 all the way through 91, which except with that little brief hiatus there to play Star Wish in 87 and 88. But there's like a million different versions of this. So it's King Moody was the original Ronald. So he played Ronald from 82 to 85. Then Squire Friedel, from 86 to 90, and then Jack Depke played Ronald in 91. So they like recut certain parts of this commercial to capture their new, actor playing it, which I thought was kind of funny. It's one of those like, okay, well, we got a new song. Let's throw our new song in there. And they did that too. So in 82, 89, and 91, it was that You Deserve a Break Today soundtrack. In 83, it was that McDonald's and You, that jingle there. 84 to 86 was the It's a Good Time for the Great Taste of McDonald's. So that's in there. Mm-hmm. And then in 90 it was Food, Folks, and Fun was their little jingle. So there's like a bunch of different versions of this particular ice skating one. I'm going to play the original 1982 one here just so we can get a feel for it.
Ronald, I'm gonna go eat some French fries now. Good commercial. That was good.
It is a good commercial, and that's again not like super Christmassy, more just wintry.
Mm-hmm.
But there was just a ton of info on. That's like the most information I found on any of these commercials here. So I was like, I got to talk about that one because, I mean, what else can I talk about?
Yeah. Well, I mean, McDonald's has such a good history when it comes to their advertising that it's probably, in my opinion, McDonald's is probably one of the best companies that did advertising.
Yeah.
Not so much now, but back then they saw their market, which was kids, and they went for it. Like they straight up with McDonald Land. And all of those things, and then they even try to get the adults like for dinner with Mac Tonight. Do you remember Mac
Tonight?
I
remember Mac Tonight. Yeah,
I love Mac Tonight. Has a special place in my heart because Mac Tonight is the mascot that got me to love advertising characters in my adult life.
Okay,
it actually I remember when I was at this thrift store and they had a poster of Mac Tonight there. And I was looking at it going, what the heck is this? And like all of these memories started flowing through my head of like McDonald's and for whatever reason, Carl's Jr. or Hardee's, as they call it here in Tennessee. That started flying through my head. And I was like, oh my, what is it? I better put this down because this is giving me some weird vibes. So I put it down. And I literally was thinking about that stupid poster for 3 days. Until I finally went back and I paid $3 and I took that thing home. Once I took it home, I got on eBay. I started looking up all of these things. Man, eBay took a lot of my money that year.
I understand. I taught a class on film scoring, and I needed the music to actually teach the class, and so I could, we could listen to it. And that particular year, getting a lot of those CDs, because it was CDs back then, for some of the more rare ones that I really wanted to touch on, they were just amazing musically, but weren't in regular print, I should say. Definitely ate up some cash there.
Oh, I know. Well, the cool thing was at the time before I started Amazing Advertising, nostalgia was kind of getting its legs, because it wasn't always 90s this and 90s that, 80s this, nostalgia this. It wasn't always like that. Like 10 years ago, there were no podcasts like this out. There might have been like one or two, but it didn't really start hitting big until probably 5 years ago is when people really started hitting. Well, actually, it's probably 7 years now, because I think it was like in 2015 is when it really took off. So I got a lot of these mascots and these characters and all of these things, all of this memorabilia. I got it before the huge boom. And now when you try to look up the Noid stuff, man, you got to pay a premium for it.
Yeah, it's huge. It's definitely huge. But speaking of nostalgia, just a couple more here, and then we'll move on from there. But the one I really am super excited to talk about, because I talked about it already, is the in my Hershey's Kiss episode, was the Hershey's Kiss Christmas bells.
Oh man,
this is a classic. Again, you see this one, you immediately think Christmas time is here, and it's so simple too. It's just the kisses in the shape of a tree played by handbell choirs, and they're essentially portraying the handbells themselves.
Yeah.
And so let's take a quick listen here. So simple and yet like so effective.
Yeah, and they went a long time without it changing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think they only changed it probably a couple of years ago is when they kind of like changed it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But
and people got
that,
mad.
Oh yeah, I would have. Well, if I knew. I mean, I don't have cable anymore, so I can't see these commercials. If it comes on the Roku channel, then I'll definitely catch it. But if it doesn't, then I won't see it. And unless we're doing a show on it.
Yeah, there was a little change a few years ago where they just added like a little glow, I think, to the red, that very last red. Nothing crazy. And then of course they updated it. It was completely different and people got mad. So then they ran that new one concurrently with the older traditional one. It was done by Ogilvy and Mather, and Colossal Pictures with Gordon Clark actually took care of the animation there. So it was they had their special wrapping, the red and green. They had the original there in the silver as the base of the tree, and so it just looks like it's essentially it looks like it's a little Christmas tree. And it's, as soon as I hear it, it's immediately, because it's We Wish You a Merry Christmas, because it's in the shape of a tree, because they played it all the time. It's just I'm at Christmas time as soon as it comes on.
Oh yeah, we a couple of years ago, before we left California, they had like this music box, and it had like Hershey's in it. And when you open up the music box, it would do the song.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my kids played that and drove my wife crazy. She's not into Christmas at all. So every time like Christmas season comes, she's like, "Oh, you get this over with." I'm like, "All right, Grinch." And then here I am, Mr. Elf from the movie
Buddy.
Elf. I'm over here like playing that stupid thing nonstop, and she's over there yelling at me, telling me to stop, and I'm like, nope. Then when we used to watch the commercial, I would always do the whoosh at the end.
Yeah.
She would lose it after like the 30th time I've done it. She'd get mad.
I think it's like required, right? You gotta do the whew,
Yes. But a great commercial.
Great commercial. Yes, it definitely gets definitely hits all the Christmas notes there that you need to hit. No pun intended. Mm-hmm. But this next one, and this is technically from '96, so it's kind of outside the scope of my window here. But it was done. The effects were done by Will Vinton, who most people will know from claymation fame, and so because claymation was so heavily in the '80s. I thought this was perfect. And so this is M&M's. This is, again, BBDO New York. So just a very popular advertising agency there with a super long history. I believe the original George Batten Company started in like the 1800s and then merged with the other ones in like 1921 or something like that. But anyway, here is The Faint.
Ow. So you think Santa will like these red and green M&Ms?
I don't know. I never met the guy. He does exist.
They do exist. Santa?
Because they did a sequel a few years ago. And
yeah, not as good.
No, I mean, it was still cool, but it just, you're right. It didn't have the same magic. It was just kind of the continuation of the story, I guess, in which the M&Ms have to deliver the presents and they deliver them to everybody. But it ends up
cliche.
It definitely was. But it's one of those where at Christmas time I can forgive a lot. So I think at least for me, it hit all the right notes. Of course, the Santa was played by Robert McCrae. Red was Billy West, who most people know as the voice of Fry from Futurama. And then Yellow was J.K. Simmons, who, J. Jonah Jameson and like a million other amazing things like Commissioner Gordon and, all those amazing roles that he's done. But
and one cool fact that I remember, because I also did this commercial for Amazing Advertising, is the Santa he didn't take any money for being in there. What he did was he held on to all of his residuals. So because he did that, and this commercial has been playing since 1996, it's really been on. So he's been making like $10,000 every year just for taking that one fall.
That's awesome. That's how it's done, kids.
Mike, become a stuntman, really.
For real. All right, I want to cover one last one before we get to your final commercial here. So this one is from 1987, which is the best guess I could find as to its earliest date. Although according to the Muscola group, they say it first aired in 89. So I'm not quite sure which one is accurate. And then again, this is another one with several different versions. In this particular version, Scrooge was played by Bill Gavin, and Buzz B, who's the mascot for Cheerios, because this is a Cheerios commercial, was played by Arnold Stang, who has quite a resume, Arnold Stang there. But let's listen to it.
The taste of nuts and honey, Mr. Scrooge.
Better things to do.
Oh, Mr. Scrooge, Honey Nut Cheerios, it's Christmas.
My customary gruel will suffice, thank you.
Yeah, but Honey Nut Cheerios blends golden honey and crunchy nuts.
I said, did you say honey and nuts?
Merry Christmas, Mr. Scrooge.
Again, there was another version with different so instead of Merry Christmas and Honey Minot, they use their newer updated song, and I think he says like Happy Holidays or something like that. But the original is the one that kind of sticks in my mind along with Arnold Stang's voice.
That's a great commercial.
It really is. It's, again, simple, and I think a lot of times sometimes the simpler is the better version of some of these. There's no need to overcomplicate things, just get straight to the point. Make sure you remember it and make sure they want what it is that you're selling. And there's no need to go on and on.
Right.
Yeah. Just
even though it wasn't an original idea, of course, they're doing, what are they doing? Christmas Carol.
Right.
But I mean, they did it fun, really. The bees.
Buzz Bee.
No, who's the bee supposed to play?
Bob Cratchit.
Bob Cratchit. That's right. Yeah, it's supposed to be Bob Cratchit. It's a great commercial, though. It's great. There's something about it that, I mean, I guess it's because I used to watch it during like Saturday morning cartoons and watching it. I did a lot of my watching after school. That's when I did a lot of it. So Saturday morning cartoons, I didn't really get into it that much. I did occasionally watch it. I remember watching Goosebumps on Saturdays.
Oh, yeah. Forgot they did that. Yeah.
So I was more of a Fox Kids kid, I guess.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Kid.
That's why you're on a show called It's a 90s Christmas Podcast.
That is correct, because my parents were nowhere to be found and the TV grew up me.
Gotcha. And lastly, before we get on to the final bits here, you wanted to talk about this Corona Christmas special. We'll move on from there.
Very simple.
Mm-hmm. But effective.
Yes, commercials don't get that simple. That much more simple.
It's literally just a beachfront property that, it's a nighttime. You just hear someone whistling. I mean, there's like a house and then a bunch of palm trees, and then one of them just lights up. Someone had done a canopy wrap on that palm tree, and they did a great job. I mean, I assume it was all done, in post, but
right. I'm sure those lights don't look real.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this one was actually from 1990 is when this one came out. It was 1990, and it did not change until about a few years ago when they kind of like updated it a little bit. Yeah, that stupid commercial is the bane of my existence because you know how it has those palm trees
Yes.
lit up, or they're all like a silhouette.
Yes.
One of them lights up.
Right.
Like this commercial, I don't watch this commercial every year. It's not one that's on all the time. It's one that's a few years will go by and then I'll see it again. And I'm always all like, that's the palm tree that lights up. Oh, that's not the one.
It's the second one, right? Second
It's
from the left.
It's the second one. And like, just to show you like that happens when I was doing the notes for this, for the podcast, I watched the commercial and sure enough, I was like, that's the one. And it wasn't it. And I was like, why can't I remember which one lights up? I always think it's the third one.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's that one.
Yeah.
But it's not. Yeah. I think I like this one the most. Well, not the most, but I like it because the beginning part of it, it's kind of quiet and you can like hear an owl and crickets.
Yeah.
It kind of sounds like one of those old Halloween tapes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it does. You're right.
So I kind of combined it does that, and then Christmas tree starts getting whistled, so it turns into Christmas. And I kind of like to think that that's where what's his name, Tim Burton got the idea for Nightmare Before Christmas. He was watching that commercial, he heard the Halloween in the beginning, and then it turned to Christmas.
You know what? If it's not, let's spread that around, dude.
I'm pretty sure that was it. Tim Burton. I'm onto you.
I like that. But it does make me wonder, what would you say would be your happiest memory of some of these Christmas commercials here?
Oh, hands down, it's not fair because it has to be the Fruity Pebbles. It has to be that one. It has to be the ho ho ho, I'm hungry, and him going, Santa, my pebbles. Like that has to be like, there's no competition really. Not even the Empire Man can hold up to that one. That one is gonna live with me until the day I die, really. And then when I get buried, they're gonna put that commercial in the casket with me. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but they're gonna do it somehow. Whoever they is, I don't know who's gonna bury me, but yeah.
Funny thing is, that's actually mine as well. I remember watching cartoons and that Fruity Pebbles commercials comes on, and it's still to this day, whenever someone mentions Fruity Pebbles at all, it doesn't have to do anything to do with Christmas, but I'll just say, ho, 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 I'm hungry,
I always use the line, like when he goes, Santa, my pebbles, I'll like take Santa out and I'll put my daughter's name in or something like that.
Yeah.
And like, they don't get it, but I find it so hilarious when I'm like, Callie, my cereal. Like, they don't get it, but I mean, I do. And that's all that matters.
That's all that counts. Yeah.
All that matters.
Oh man. I do, I do have a segment. It's called A, 2, and D. And so this is one that I don't do very often, just every once in a while. And it's basically just a rank of what you think, like what are your favorites here? If you had to rank them, like.
Okay. I think to be fair, let's take out ho ho ho, I'm hungry, because that one's going to be a number one. We all know that's going to be at the top. So to be fair, that's number one. And then we're ranking the other ones underneath that one.
Okay.
So what are we ranking them on? Which one gives us the better feels?
Yeah. Which one do you get more Christmas out of?
All right, let's see. Out of all the ones we did, I would probably have to say the Christmas Bells is going up top. Christmas Bells, probably Folgers right after that. And probably Scrooge right underneath that one.
Okay.
So that would have been my three. Are we going further?
No, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's funny you mentioned that because those are mine, just in a different order. So mine was the Hershey's the Kisses Bells, Christmas Bells. Okay. Then I have Scrooge, and then I have Peter Comes Home. The Scrooge, gotcha. I meant the Cheerios one. Yeah.
Perfect. I mean, those have to be the best. Actually, the Cap'n Crunch one is okay, but it just. I guess if it would have came out later in like the early 90s, if that one would have came out, then I would have probably loved that one as much as the others. Peter is just a classic one. So that's I'd never watched it as a kid. I don't remember it as a kid. It's one of those that came out later in life that
right.
I kind of saw that one. But then again, the Christmas Crunch one, that box of cereal that you see in the commercial, I love that box.
Yeah.
I go on eBay all the time to see if I can find one sealed that's not going to cost me like $200.
That's a lot for cereal.
I know, but like, man, I'm like, I try to talk myself into it going, Lyle, you've done good this year.
I tell you, if I ever won the lottery, it would be the worst thing in the world, because I would have all this ridiculous memorabilia from the 80s, and it would be stuff like that, and I would have like this huge just display all over the place.
Yeah, no, I know the feeling, because trust me, when I was doing the Amazing Advertising podcast, I went like all out. Like I was up. This is around the same time my son Callum was born, so I remember me and my wife, we had an arrangement. I would stay up until about 2:00 with my son. If he wakes up, then I will tend to him. She can sleep. And then after 2:00, I will go to sleep, and then it's all her. So that was our arrangement. To me, it was always easier for me to just stay awake until 2 versus going to sleep and then waking up when he's doing that. So I would be on eBay watching Martin on MTV2. Martin would always be on. And I'd be sitting there on eBay like, oh, what can I think of? Oh, yeah, I remember Cinnamon Toast Crunch used to have 2 other advertising characters. Let's see if there's any stuff from them.
It's funny you say that.
Order.
Because we did the same thing. Although ours was about 1:30ish, and then my wife would take over from there. Because once I'm asleep, that's it. I'm asleep. Like, it's hard to wake me up until I'm ready to wake up myself. Mm-hmm. So I would rather stay up. And so I took the first shift, and then same thing. My wife took the second shift.
We are so alike, Jared.
I was like, what? No way.
But that just seems logical. Like
it does to me. Yeah.
If you have 2 parents that are working together, that's the goal. You work together to raise the kid.
Right.
Then you work together, split everything down the middle. Well, of course, I gave her until 2 because she's a headache if she doesn't get her sleep. So
gotcha.
You got until 2. I'm fine with only like 4 hours of sleep. Like maybe 3 hours, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, when I was younger, I could get a little bit much more sleep. Now it's getting a little harder.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, it really just depends on what you're doing.
That's true. Really. But now we come to my favorite part of the show, which is a little segment I like to call To the Max. So this is where we do our best impression of our favorite part of one of these commercials. Now, as a guest, I'll let you go first. Just kind of tell us which commercial it's from, and we'll go from there.
Man, I think this whole episode has been me just doing
that's
the ho, I'm hungry. I've been doing that the whole time. Like, I guess I could just be like, Santa. Hit him with the little thing.
Go for it, man. Go for it.
Let me see. Hey, Red, do you think Santa would like these red and green M&Ms? I don't know. I never met the guy. He does exist. They do exist. Santa. I even added the music for you.
Nice. So
I'm a performing monkey. So
there. Well, then I guess I must be too, because this is from the Fruity Pebbles commercial.
Okay.
And he's like, Barney, my pebbles. And Santa, this is my favorite part here. Santa says, 'tis the season to be sharing, friend. I can't do his voice. I can't. I tried, but
it's good.
Oh man. But it does make me wonder, G.I. Joe taught us that knowing is half the battle. What do you think the other half is?
The other half is knowing how to wake up your parents with Folgers when a sibling comes back into
That's good.
That's how you wake them up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Folgers.
Just let it waft. Let it waft.
Mm-hmm.
It's better than mine. Mine was just, if knowing's half the battle, the other half is just hiring the perfect ad agency.
Yes. That That's good. Don't hire whoever did the continuation of Folgers.
No.
Or the second one.
No, please
don't hire them. I mean, Will Vinton is good. Or actually, no, they just do the claymation. Leo Burnett, he does good. DBA.
Oh, yeah.
DBA, and that's not them. DBC, I think, is the ones who came up with. Oh, I don't remember. It's been a while. Amazing Advertising was a good show at the time, but now I've thought about bringing it back. But at the time when I started it, the podcast was the thing. But now it's like they're doing those same type of podcast shows, but they're doing it on YouTube.
Oh, I see.
Of course, it's going to be better if it's visual.
You can actually see the visuals,
see the commercials and all of that stuff instead of just playing the audio. So I've been thinking of bringing it back as a YouTube show.
Cool.
But then again, I'm like, well, I don't know if I want to invest the time in that.
Right.
And I get more enjoyment talking to somebody like you, Jerry, and we're just sitting here reminiscing about these things.
Yeah.
Like I would love to redo Amazing Advertising, but instead of it's just me sitting in front of the microphone reading off a script, like I can read the information and then talk to somebody about their memories and all of that stuff. So that might be in the pipeline.
Sounds fun to me. Yeah. I'm always down.
Totally. Let's go. We'll figure it out.
Oh man, Lyle, it's been so much fun talking with you. So you've already kind of mentioned your shows, but tell me a little bit about your shows.
Perfect. Well, first, Amazing Advertising, of course, was my first podcast. I talk about advertising characters, give you their history, play some commercials, share some of my memories about them. I've done a lot of cool ones. I did Mac Tonight. That was a good one. I did The Noid. Who else did I do? The Tricks Rabbit. I did that one. The Mr. Monopoly guy, Rich Uncle Pennybags. I did him. So there's tons. I think the last one I did was Little Sweet from Diet Dr. Pepper, because there was just something about Little Sweet that just like, I don't know. Every time Little Sweet would come on, I would just go, Little Sweet. And my wife would be like, what are you doing? Like, it's Little Sweet. So that was pretty cool. Amazing Advertising. That's still floating around somewhere. You guys can check those out. I do the Halloween podcast. I haven't done that in probably about a year, only because I have a new career. I'm a real estate agent here in Tennessee. So doing that takes up a lot of time. Plus, I have nowhere to record other than my office here, but I could only record at night, and I have a family. So the phone would be ringing if I do it at any other time. So I can't do it here. But I am building a studio at my new house that should be done probably sometime this year. Once that's done, I'm doing it right. So it's going to be soundproofed, and there's going to be all of my advertising characters are going to be everywhere. It's going to be great as soon as it's done.
Right on.
And then it's a 90s Christmas podcast. That's the one I do with Lassa. Lassa, if you're listening, what's going on, man? I know I talked to you a couple of days ago, but we'll get some shows going again. Hopefully, when the studio's ready, I can find the time to do it with Lassa. And yeah, we talk about kind of like your show, Jerry. We do everything in the 90s. So it's basically the same idea, but the 90s instead of the 80s. We're two peas in the pod.
Nice. I dig it.
Yeah.
Right on, man. Well, thanks again for coming on.
No problem, Jerry. It's always a pleasure to talk to you because, like I said, I love doing the shows with Lassa, but he's from Germany, so it's kind of tough. Yeah. That a lot of my memories aren't his memories because he was in Germany and I'm here in America. So he didn't know anything about TGIF. And when I was like, you don't know what TGIF is? He's like, never heard of it. And I was like, dude. But of course, like it's just hard to get out on this stuff with somebody who just didn't have that same childhood.
Right. Yeah. I completely get it. Speaking with some of the folks across the pond as well. And it's like, what do you mean you don't like Rankin Bass? That's like, what do you mean you don't like Charlie Brown as much? That's a staple here, you know?
Yes.
And then, but it goes the other way too. They'll ask me, what do you mean you don't watch The Snowman every year?
Yeah.
It's like, well, just wasn't really huge over here. You know?
Yeah. So Yeah, it's always fun to have that person that you can totally geek out with. Like if me and Lasso would have done the show, he wouldn't know any of these.
Right.
He wouldn't have. And I mean, it's just because that's, he's German, and I make fun of him for it all the time. But he knows I love him. I love you, Lasso. You're fun, dude.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah, he is.
But on that note, definitely go check out It's a 90s Christmas podcast and the Halloween podcast, and that ad one sounds really fun too.
Amazing advertising.
All right. And I actually was a guest talking about Will Vinton and his Halloween claymation creation on the Halloween podcast.
I remember that.
That was something else.
I think that might still actually be the last show that was.
Oh wow!
I think that's still either that one. It might have been the Buffy one we did. I don't know. It was one of those.
Right on.
Yeah.
But either way, go check them out because they're lots of fun.
Yeah, I have a lot of fun doing them.
And so on that note, I'm going to end it by saying, Merry Christmas, Mr. Scrooge. So check us out on our social media pages, Facebook and Instagram at Totally Rad Christmas and Twitter at Rad Christmas. And if you're feeling like Peter's mom welcoming him home Christmas morning, leave us a review on iTunes. Not only does it help us reach more people, but you also get a free sticker. Now, don't forget to check out our merch shop on tpublic.com and our brand new website, courtesy of Tis the Podcast Elf, Tom Crow. Later, dudes.
Do you love fun?
Do you love movies?
Do you love TV shows?
Do you love informative entertainment?
But most of all, do you love Christmas?
Then look no further, because we've got you covered.
It's a 90s Christmas podcast is all about the most joyful and triumphant holiday and all its media, but only as far as the 90s are concerned.
That's right. Our show not only is about the cheeriest time of the year, but also the cheesiest decade in world history. If that isn't an ideal combination, I don't know what is.
Every week we will cover a movie, 2 sitcom episodes, and a Christmas special, as long as they came out between 1990 and 2002.
You can find us on iTunes, Podomatic.com, Stitcher.com, and Spotify.
I am Lyle Perez from America.
I am Lasse Vogt from Germany.
And It's a 90s Christmas podcast, offering perspectives from 2 different parts of the world, is waiting for you.
Have fun, and no matter where you are or when you listen to this,
a very Merry Christmas.